Hey, this is Lou Mangello from WDW Radio, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Let's do this.
The tangents of we continue all the way to episode 380 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. And you know, it's hard being 16 years old, trying to balance school life and homework and all that craziness. You're close to graduating and you got to start thinking about what you're going to do post high school. You got to deal with hormones and all the madness that comes with that, learning how to drive and get your driver's license. Oh yeah, and finding out you come from a line of magical beings from another universe, and it turns out you have superpowers too. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like we do, Rick, with the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany W.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So sorry about the delay. Hopefully people saw our posts on the social medias that the gremlins had taken control momentarily.
Yeah.
or do we want to blame damage control? They knew what we were going to be talking about.
Yeah, it could be. It could have been them too. So don't get me started on damage control. Actually, well, don't get me started on damage control quite yet. We will get there.
Yeah. Sorry, plain hand, I know.
Yeah. Oh my God. So first off, we need to do the news, which not a whole lot, as we were discussing before we started. It's a little quiet on the Western Front at the moment because Phantom Christmas starts tomorrow. So the dump truck of
for
news.
the internet to go kablooey numerous times over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, because Marvel has confirmed that they are going to be there. There's presentations. I know Neil Gaiman has posted he's going to be there. They're going to be showing Sandman.
Mm-hmm.
So, which we still have to wait a couple more weeks for. So, with Fandom Christmas, aka San Diego Comic-Con, for those that don't know our lingo, there is, I'm sure, some stuff coming. I would not be surprised if, like, the Marvel / Star Wars, anything from the House of Mouse, if there's not as much as you might usually expect coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, just because D23 Expo is Labor Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So Disney may be holding some stuff close to the chest for now, and waiting until they're at their own event where they don't have to share with anyone else to collectively blow our minds. No, but I fully expect there to at least be some stuff, especially stuff that we know is coming sooner rather than later. Like, we probably are going to get maybe more look at like She-Hulk and some other things. So
stuff that we already know is coming and have dates.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, Phantom Christmas. I'm still so excited. So stay tuned to the social medias because I will probably be on Twitter and retweeting stuff as it comes out into the feeds. But in the meantime, crazy, I swear we just did our Oscars thing, but we're already going back into award season with the Emmy nominations having been announced. So of course, with the way things did with all the streaming services and blah blah blah. We do have some things in there in the big categories, but you kind of have to get into, again, the technical award categories to really find the stuff that we're usually excited about, the geeky stuff. So that being said, Stranger Things was nominated in Best Drama series. So yay. Only Murders in the Building nominated for Best Comedy Series. So that's cool. And both Steve Martin and Martin Short got nominated for lead actor in a comedy series for Only Murders in the Building. Why does Selena Gomez keep getting passed over?
I don't know.
For Only Murders in the
Building.
It's beyond
It's a shame.
Me. Yeah, she is just as good as those guys and totally holds her own.
Yes.
So,
I mean, and I'm really hoping that it's a tie for Steve Martin and Martin Short.
Yeah.
And they both win and they both have to share.
Yeah. As much as I'd like that, odds are it's probably going to go to Jason Sudeikis for Ted Lasso.
I'm thinking, I'm thinking you're right.
Which I've not seen. I just know enough about it.
I've seen a few episodes of Ted Lasso, and it is good. It's good. Yeah. It's sports ball, but it's good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in television movie, the Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers.
Oh boy.
We got like, really? Of all the things on Disney Plus, that's the thing that we didn't have any other, direct release Disney Plus movies that could have gone in there. Whatever. I just think that's hilarious, considering it was like either people loved it or hated it. So I've not seen it yet. But
I haven't seen it. I don't know if I love it or hate it.
I'm rooting for Zoe's Extraordinary Christmas because I loved Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, and I'm mad that the show got canceled. So not a whole lot else in the like the acting categories. We got guest actress and actor Jane Lynch for Only Murders in the Building, and then Nathan Lane for his appearances in Only Murders in the Building. But yeah, you have to really get down into the weeds of the not so mainstream categories. So let's see here. Like outstanding production design for a narrative period or fantasy program of 1 hour or more, because that's a mouthful. But like Loki got nominated, or Stranger Things got nominated. So or outstanding production for a narrative program, half hour. So yeah, it's I guess it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
To see some of those our shows end up in at least something, I guess, is better than nothing. So but yeah. There's that. Emmys. Take it or leave it. So it's a very, very long list because they do have a lot of, because they take like the technical categories that we're used to, like sound mixing or sound editing, but then they are like, is this a half-hour program or an hour-long program? Is it comedy or drama? Is it animated? So they get really into very specific categories. So and I guess we'll wait and see what they decide to do as far as showing said awards ceremony. So right now, set to air September 12th on NBC. We shall see.
Mhm.
And that's really about it. If you are not already subscribed to the Fandom Zone podcast, which is hosted by DJ Nick and Charles Skaggs, they had me on their most recent episode talking about the season finale of Miss Marvel. So if you want to hear me talk about just episode 6,
Mhm.
you can go listen to that.
Very nicely done.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
So there's that. That was my first time on the Fandom Zone.
Cool.
So I'd never been on that particular show
It's
before.
pretty nice, and yeah, I do have to say, that complex does look,
Mhm.
pretty familiar.
Mhm. Yep. All right, so let's move on to feedback. Got some feedback from Shalane, of course.
Yay.
And she says, she don't have any spoilers for Stranger Things, but she says this season was epic, so much action, and Kate Bush's running up the hill is definitely an airworm, and also a good song to work out to.
True.
Which is true. It's also a good driving song.
Yes.
Which for me, those playlists are almost interchangeable. That she mentions the other 80s earworms that we've gotten in all the seasons of Stranger Things, like Should I Stay or Should I Go? And then Every Breath You Take, and then the theme from Neverending Story.
Yes. And I have to say, the remix for Journey, that is quite the earworm.
Yep.
And then she mentions that at least that she caught she did not catch many Easter eggs specifically to movies that came out the year that this is set, 1986. But apparently there's an Easter egg for Little Shop of Horrors, which I totally missed.
Same here.
Me too. And now I'm trying to see if I can picture it. I guess that means I have to watch season 4 again.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shucks.
Yeah. And then it says she also loved Max and Erica this season. But Erica was underrated always. You can't spell America without Erica. She says she also loved Argyle. And she still loves Steve. She says that Eddie's hair reminded her of other 80s rocker styles, so like Bon Jovi. Yeah, it's very Bon Jovi-esque hair, or the Slash. You could put a top hat on him and he could be in Guns N' Roses. Yeah. Then she says, hopefully next season, Elle will be reunited with her sister. 8 that we saw in Elle's little jaunt to Chicago. And she says we would love to see the two of them fight Vecna together. I mean, sure, at this point, Elle could use all the help she can get.
Yeah.
She says, also, you titled your podcast Spring Awakening. Did you know that there is a play and musical called Spring Awakening about teenagers in the early 20th century of Germany going through relationships? Yes, I did. That's kind of why I use that.
There was a reason.
It's set during spring break.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot, some relationship drama going on, not just between romantic relationships, but friendships as well. The kids are getting older, and things happen as you get older. Taste change and likes and stuff change. So yeah, but also there's spring awakening. So then she says, man, Joyce went through a lot the past season. Season 1, where's my son? Season 2, what's wrong with my son? Season 3, what's wrong with my magnets? Season 4, where's Hopper and is he alive? I like that. Where's my magnets? That is so funny.
Where's my Hopper? I'm trying not to kill Yuri.
Where's Hopper? And would you like some peanut butter?
Yes.
She has a little comment about how in the 80s that there were a lot of movies that were technically kids movies but were very traumatizing. And she is not wrong. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that it wasn't until well into the 80s that the PG-13 rating became a thing. So your choice was rate something PG, which obviously still is not everyone and every child. That would be G. But PG still nowadays has the indicator that it's like, for a pretty broad audience, and then PG-13 is supposed to be for 13 above. But that did not exist until the mid 80s. So there are some early 80s movies that are rated PG that you're like,
how did this ever get past the
right? Well, because their options were PG or R.
Right.
There wasn't an in between. Like I just watched Poltergeist last night.
Oh, cool.
If I had watched that as a kid, granted I wasn't alive when it came out because it came out in 82. I didn't exist yet. But if I had been a kid, if I'd watched that because it's labeled PG, I may have been a little traumatized by it. Now,
there's some nightmare juice inducing stuff.
Nowadays, I don't know if it necessarily requires an R, but it would definitely probably be PG-13.
Yeah.
But like the special effects have not held up at all. So it's not quite as scary, I think, as it was when it was new. Because there are several times where I'm like, yeah, this is kind of bad. And the acting is bad. It is so bad. So, but yeah, that is one of those 80s movies that people will be like, oh, it's rated PG. Oh, it's just going to be a little, silly, scary movie, But it's like, no, that would not have been the case in 1982. You would have scared the crap out of your kids. So, so yeah, so that is now why we have the PG-13 rating, because they were making movies like Poltergeist and Indiana Jones and Take Your Pick. So, although actually the first Indiana Jones I think was PG. I think it was Temple of Doom was PG-13.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly. So, but yeah, we can balance that out with things like the 80s Muppet movies and the live action Annie. So, thank you, Shalane, for your feedback as always.
Thank you.
Yes,
So
much appreciated.
So we are going to dive into this week's main topic, which is Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
The latest entry into the MCU, courtesy of Disney Plus.
Yes.
So it was interesting, and I mentioned this a little when I was on the Fandom Zone, is that we have gotten a live adaptation already for a character that is so new to Marvel Comics as a whole. Like Captain America as a character in the comics is like over 70 years old.
I think he's been around since the 40s.
Yeah, Kamala Khan made her first appearance in 2013 and then got her own series in 2014. So she hasn't even been around a decade yet.
Wow.
Yeah. But I think that's cool. I think that's very, very cool. I mean, but I remember, because by the time she was announced that, this character was coming, I was drinking the Kool-Aid as far as the MCU is concerned. So, so I'm like, all the things, give me all the information. So I remember when they made the announcement, and it was kind of a big deal. I mean, it's always a big deal whenever we get a new character.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how often new characters are introduced, but I can't imagine it's very often. They just kind of like, take a character that maybe hasn't been around for a while and be like, oh, we're just going to start a new run with a new artist and a new writer or whatever. So like, you thought you knew Black Cat back in the 80s, but here's Black Cat for now, but also the fact that she is Marvel's first Muslim character. So, and obviously that's a big part of who she is, and that's a big part of who she is in this series. And I mentioned I don't want to keep repeating everything I said on the Fandom Zone, because then I just be like, just go listen to that episode. But that episode was supposed to be just about the final episode. Here we're talking about the entire series. But if any of our listeners out there watch Miss Marvel and or are familiar with the comics and are Muslim or know enough about the Muslim faith, and I'd be interested to hear their thoughts on how the faith was portrayed in this, because I only know what I know from the internet, really, because
Right.
As far as I know, I don't know any Muslim people. I don't think. Otherwise, I would ask them. So I really only know what I've heard from the internet and TV and stuff. So was it portrayed accurately? Was it portrayed in a way that makes you like not be ashamed that your faith is being portrayed in such a mainstream thing in pop culture? So I hope that makes sense. That's my question. Makes sense. Okay.
Yes.
Makes
Good.
sense to me.
I was like, I'm trying to be culturally sensitive here. But I'm also curious. So
Same.
But now, because I know you guys and I are in very similar corners of the internet as far as like groups and stuff, Facebook and the like. But what were you guys seeing as far as feedback from the fandom as the series was going on, and how did you feel about it when it started? Because I loved, I was enjoying it right off the bat, from the start of the first episode. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. And it is very fun. It has some serious moments, but it is a very fun series. But I was seeing some comments from some people that are like, I feel like I'm not the demographic for this.
Yeah, I saw that too. Like, like I've seen like people complaining like it's just like some silly, goofy teen thing. Like, I mean, yeah, it's a teen show. It's like but it's more than that. And I don't know how to explain how I felt.
But. Yeah. I mean, you get the teen aspect because they're teen characters, but it still ties into the main MCU, and she's going to be a part, and she's going to have to grow up fast with her powers. I mean, just like you guys were seeing on Fandom Zone, it's just with her trying to get her secret, and she really doesn't have a mentor. She doesn't have the Tony Stark, the Happy, to guide her through. She's just like, okay, what do I do? These people are after me. I've got damage control, not to mention somebody who may or may not have caused a relative of mine's death. And this all to deal with, all along with the fact that mom is trying to hide something about the past that actually turns out to be a cool thing once we find out from grandma what's going on. So it's just like, she's got all this. So I could kind of see where some people were confused, but it's just like, hey, I was along for the ride. I enjoyed every minute of it. I mean, there might have been a couple of things here and there I didn't understand, but I was just like, give me more. I'm loving it. And I can't wait to see how everything all shakes out.
Yeah, because she's got her hands full.
Oh, yes, she does.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it does come off as young and not in like a Spider-Man type of way.
Right.
Like, she's only a couple of years younger than Peter Parker. At least as far, as far as he's supposed to be, as far as the MCU is concerned, our Tom Holland Peter Parker, he didn't graduate high school. He's going to try to get his GED, but he should be graduating high school, which puts him at about 18 years old. And Kamala's 16. She's just, she fails her driver's test in the very first episode. So, which I almost failed my driver's test the first time. So not because I crashed into anything, but because I took just a little too long to parallel park. If I had took a little bit longer, they would have failed me. Even if I'd done it successfully, just the amount of time it took, they would have failed me. So
I hate to parallel park.
Oh, me too. I do too. So
I actually did fail mine.
Yeah,
but that's because I got my TOEFL that day.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So she's trying to deal with that. She's got, she's only got, she's not necessarily a popular kid, but she's not necessarily being bullied either. But there's very obvious that hierarchy that you see in popular media with high schools. You've got your jocks, you've got your nerds, you got your popular kids, you got your the popular girl who is kind of the queen bee of everything. But it turns out actually Zoe's actually pretty cool by the time we get to the end of the series. But Kamala's, she's not really struggling per se. Like, we see some teenagers, but she's not really thriving either. She's just kind of there.
No. Right.
Kind of reminded me of like how I was in high school. Like I wasn't struggling. I was like you were saying, I was just like there. I was like,
yeah.
I had
it's like you've got friends, but you're not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily popular, but you're not a loner
Right.
either. You're not being isolated.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. You're participating in a group. You're not by yourself. You have your group of friends, and you're not straddling the fence, but you have a support group. You have a system.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. She's just, she's, like I said, she's at that age where, like the school counselors were like, wait, have you thought about your future type of thing? And she's like, I'm just trying to get my driver's license and go to Avenger Con. Yeah. Because at that age,
I still have 2 years.
Yeah, it's like
what's the rush?
At that age, 2 years might as well be 2 million years.
Right.
So, she's only thinking to the weekend, driver's license, Avenger Con, so we're in the here
that's the
and
best way to
now.
go.
Yeah, which is very, very accurate. For just teenagers in general, again, because of that frontal lobe is not fully developed, and that's the part of the brain that helps with
Those types
thinking
of
about and calculating like longer term things, which is why people like shake their heads when they see like kids and teenagers do things seemingly on impulse. And that's because that's exactly what it is. They don't have that part of the brain yet that says, hold on a minute, let's think about the consequences of if we do this thing we're thinking about doing.
Mm-hmm.
Once we have that, that's when we start being cautious in theory about doing things. Sometimes we can still be impulsive.
Yeah.
Which is why I have 2 new tattoos in the last month or so. But and I'm almost 40, so it's not a complete put a brakes on the impulsivity part of it, but it certainly helps. So yeah, she's obviously I can't necessarily put myself in her shoes as far as like because obviously social media is a big part of this series. They play with that and use that quite a bit. Obviously I'm on social media, we're on social media, we the show gets promoted because of social media, but I don't know what it's like using social media in high school because it was not a thing. So I can't necessarily put myself in her shoes with that, but a lot of the stuff, I can totally see where she's at that age, because I was the same way. I had friends. It was just a very small select group of friends. And we just we had our little bubble and we tried to stay in it, and we were happy with each other and try not to get in the way of anyone that may think otherwise. So so yeah, it's very relatable, very even relatable even to someone my age, to watch her go through a lot of this stuff. So obviously with everything that happens, the group that she has around her, even as tiny as it is very good, and as the series goes on, that support group gets bigger, because at first her dad is just kind of the dad, kind of stereotypical. If it was you could easily take some of these character tropes and apply them to a family of any ethnicity,
Mm-hmm.
And it would be applicable. The fact that they're Muslim really has no bearing on some of the tropes that they end up going with for some of this stuff. So her dad is just very like, he's the head of the household, and he wants to get, happy wife, happy life. So their oldest child, their son, is engaged to be married, so things are very busy with that, and he's just trying to keep the peace while the wife is running around trying to do all the things that are involved when putting on a wedding, which is why I had a destination wedding and somebody else took care of that for me, because I didn't want to do all that crap. And but at the same time, he's all, you can see he's trying to be kind of hip and cool with like using technology. They got Bruno, who is Kamala's essentially guy in the chair to her Peter Parker.
Yep.
He's this really smart technology genius. He and like Riri Williams and Peter Parker and Tony Stark, if he was still around, Tony Stark would be like, dude, kid, come play. Come play with some Stark tech. I will show you some things.
Yes. If Tony Stark was alive, he would like end up making like a super smart kid daycare.
Yeah, really.
Yes. I would totally watch that.
Tony Stark's Kid Genius Summer Camp.
Yes.
Yeah. R.I.P. Tony. Quick, someone call Happy.
Yeah.
Get that going. Although Bruno's going off to Caltech. So who knows?
Something tells me if Tony was still around, he would have grabbed Bruno, and he would have probably grabbed Kamala and just like, okay, we need to sit down. We need to talk.
Yeah, both of them. I'd be like, hey, Bruno, want to go to Wakanda?
Yes.
Meet Shuri.
Yes. And I'll get Danvers on the line for you, Kamala.
Meanwhile, Tony is like, Kamala, I want you to meet Peter.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got a lot in common, kids. Okay. I want to know. Because I probably should have like Googled this, but I don't know if it would have helped me any. But I want to know, what was the timeline from when they, scripted this very first episode and shot it in relation to the release of Encanto?
Oh,
good question.
Because the fact that like the first time we meet Bruno, we don't know what his name is, and it's not until he says something and Kamala's like, oh, Bruno, no. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah.
I have questions about this timeline here. If that was just pure coincidence that we got a character named Bruno and she just happens to say no, or if that was an intentional Easter egg, because I have not been able to find anything to confirm nor deny. Quick, somebody somewhere who knows something. Somebody call up Lin-Manuel Miranda. And
okay, it sounds like it was filmed in the spring of 2001.
2001
or 2021. I'm sorry, 2021. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's been a long day, my dear.
Yes. It's been a long 20 years.
2020. Yeah, it's 2020. Excuse me.
Yeah. So we may just have to chalk that up to coincidence, maybe.
Yeah.
Or reshoots, something.
And then also some of it was also filmed in November of 2020.
So there could have been a pickup or something there, or a reshoot.
Right.
That is my headcanon, and I'm sticking with it until somebody tells me otherwise.
I was thinking like both Disney, they're gonna both have either same
Nods
circle or
yeah.
know people, know other people. So maybe this, I don't know. Now I am curious too. Like,
Yes, we need to know about Bruno.
We want to talk about Bruno.
We want to talk about Bruno.
Yeah.
That's just one of
they
those
actually had to
questions
film the scenes that were supposed to be in Pakistan and Thailand.
Yeah. Yeah, which supposedly there's never been any reasoning given for that, but considering that part of the world isn't the most stable.
I think because of all the political stuff, better safe than
Sorry.
I would likely guess that it probably has to do with the safety of the cast and crew and everything. So
yeah.
But they did a really good job about making my guess is they probably either built stuff or got stuff that they could use for compositing that actually is part of Pakistan, because there's like some buildings and stuff that are very, if you know Pakistan, especially Karachi, that if you saw buildings you'd be like, I know where that is. So my guess is they either did some my guess is they probably managed to get some shots and were able to composite so that the skyline looked correct, would be my guess. So because we know Disney, the eye to detail.
Yep.
So yeah, she's got Bruno, who also a bit cliche, obviously has a crush on Kamala. As I said on the Fandom Zone, dude, you threw away your shot. Again, Lin-Manuel Miranda. He threw away his shot. If you didn't say anything, and she's got a thing going for someone else, you can't be mad at anybody except yourself. Sorry, dude. I know that maybe sounds kind of harsh, but it's true. So hopefully with time, being at Caltech, that will maybe help heal the heartache. He's a good kid though, obviously very smart. And then her other best friend Nakia, who's also very smart, and very strong in her own way. She doesn't have superpowers like Kamala does, but she recognizes that she's got things that she can do in her own way, like running for a position on the board at the mosque, which up until that point was unheard of for a woman. So she's very cool. I kind of wish she'd had a bit more to do, but again, not how she's very smart and very quick on her feet, but she's not necessarily tech savvy like Bruno is. So it's like she kind of goes off to the side there for a little bit, and you can just kind of be like, well, she's busy with mosque duties now that she's on the board. And then obviously she comes in and steps up in the big showdown at the high school in the final episode. So and of course Kamal's parents, Yusuf and Muniba. Again, Yusuf very kind, thinks he's funnier than he actually is, like most dads. really loves Hostess fruit pies, which is a deep cut Easter egg for Marvel Comics, because in the 70s and 80s, Hostess did a big like advertising campaign where they teamed up with a bunch of comics to help advertise their products, and that included Marvel. And it consisted of like one-page comic stories where the superheroes would defeat villains with traps using a Hostess baked snack goods, either as lures or as bribes. So anyone out there, if you have any of those, you got any old 70s or 80s Marvel Comics like her, please flip through the pages and see if you have any of those Hostess one sheets, because I want to see them. I just want to see like the Hulk or like Captain America capturing a bad guy using a ding dong, or a Twinkie. Oh. Oh my goodness. And then her mom. I did not like her mom at first. I will admit to that. In fact, I did admit to that on the Fandom Zone. I did not like Kamala's mom at first. I don't know if you guys have similar mommy issues like I do. The overprotective mom is just it's a trope.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a big trope, and I'm not a parent. I have no desire to be a parent, so I can't really understand what it's like. But it's like it rubbed me the wrong way at first, and then I was like, okay, think this through logically. Odds are by the time we get to the end of this, she'll probably have changed her tune. Which she did.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm glad she did, because it could have turned out a whole different way.
I'm really glad she did. And actually she changed her tune way further the other direction than I thought she would have, because I was like, oh well, she'll change her tune, but she's still gonna be like, I worry about you, please be careful, here, carry some band-aids in your in your pocket or something. But instead she's all like, you got superpowers, kid? Great, I'm proud of you. Here, I got you your costume. Go out, save people, have fun.
Yeah. And I mean, man, that costume. If that was Auntie Ruby's or Nana or Nani knows somebody, hoofda.
Oh, I'm sure.
Very nice.
The Nani knew someone that could whip that together in Pakistan. With enough time to make sure that it got to Kamala. Again, the only thing is, get her some proper footwear. I know she's 16, and I love Converse as much as the next person.
Just enough for a lot of protection.
Yeah, the ankles are a bit exposed there. They're not necessarily waterproof or water resistant. Yeah, you don't have to go on full on like steel toe, whatever.
Right, but
just something a little more maybe something with a bit more arch and ankle support, maybe something that's water resistant.
Or talk to Shuri to see what she can't come up with and make it Converse protective hybrid.
Yeah, either that or we need to go to Wakanda and get some some vibranium infused Converse, because I'm pretty sure we'd be like, what are those?
Exactly.
Not quite as bad as flip-flops or sandals, right. But still not a lot of foot protection there. So, but other than that, fantastic outfit. I love it.
Yes.
And it's a very good interpretation of the comic book outfit, again, because I think her character is still so new to the comics that it's modern enough that they don't have to deviate too far, right. Unlike some of our other live action adapted, where like if they put them in their actual comic
or Captain
outfits,
America,
they would look kind of ridiculous, like they give us a little bit of a nod to OG Luke Cage in Luke Cage. Jessica Jones never even wears her outfit. You just get Trish being like, look, wear this, and Jessica's like, hell no. So
WandaVision as the Halloween costumes.
Yeah, the Halloween costumes. Yeah, exactly. So probably with time, I'm sure Kamala's outfit will change. But yeah, the fact that it's modern enough that they can just be like, there you go, and it still works. So I'm hoping maybe she'll get a footwear upgrade in the Marvels, at the very least. So but obviously the big part of the plot of this series is Kamala getting these powers, which she has seemingly always had. They were just not unlocked, as we've seen with some other characters. We will get to that. Don't worry, we are going to get to that bomb that they dropped in the final episode. But as we've seen with other characters, their powers they're not necessarily just boop appear. It takes some time for them to manifest in some form or fashion. Obviously with Wanda and Pietro, they had to be experimented on by Whitehall. Daisy Johnson had to go through Terrigenesis to get her inhuman powers. So sometimes it takes an incident. In this case, it's a bracelet. Well, a bracelet. The fact that there's supposed to be a pair and they only ever found the one makes me wonder when the other one's going to pop up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. But it turns out that her family line comes from these, in the comics, they're this ancient race that like lives super long. They're not necessarily immortal, but they're a long living race, called the Clandestine, that are from another dimension. What dimension that is, we don't know. Is it the same dimension that like where Shang-Chi's mother came from? Or is it different?
Right.
To be determined, maybe. I can't imagine that they did so little with the Clandestine that they're just going to be like, well, that's it. That's all we're going to ever hear about the Clandestine and their dimension. So maybe, I guess we'll have to wait and see. So, they kind of make it seem like these clandestine are going to be like the big bad, because her ancestors they're still around want to get back to their home dimension, and she's the only way they can do it. Then it turns out that's kind of a red herring as far as who the actual bad person in this series is. Turns out it's the government, which really, can anybody be surprised?
I was gonna say
at this point,
the government.
yeah,
And MCU a bad part.
yeah, I know.
Bad people.
Well, and I think it's also a nice change of pace too, that with an origin story, they're the first like antagonist or villain, whatever label you want to use, is not some big like earth shattering huge crazy like psycho villain with like crazy powers or anything. Sometimes it's just a person, like I mean, obviously it's not an origin story, but our first Spider-Man movie, Homecoming, Adrian Toomes was just a guy,
right?
He wasn't some like crazy souped up something, or he was just a guy with a pair of wings and a grunge, to a chip on his shoulder,
right?
Mostly aimed at the government, actually. Again, he gets a bad attitude because of the government. So, thank you, Department of Damage Control. You suck. Yeah, I'm kind of with Adrian Toomes on this one, in a way, kind of, sort of, not completely, but just a little bit. I can kind of see where he's coming from. And what's her face from the Department of Deaver, from the DODC. I just want to punch her in the face. I mean, it's bad enough when you get someone that's in a position of authority, whether you're a manager or of something, or the leader of like a team or organization or something, like as we've seen in Spider-Man Homecoming, the DODC, they just kind of come in and just throw their weight around like they do. Deaver, though, not knowing any of her backstory, but it's very obvious that she's got more. She's doing more than just riding on like a power trip. That she's got some racist and xenophobic tendencies and inclinations that are not cool. That ain't cool. I don't care who you are. You don't go bursting into a mosque, a church, any sort of religious institution, into their holy space with guns, ready, with like, we're looking for someone, and give this generic description that could fit like 100 people easily. It's just like, she's just, ugh. No, I hope she gets what's coming to her. And that's the end of it, and she doesn't end up getting recruited to like a certain countess's roster where she's collecting people who have ships on their shoulders. So just saying. So But, and then Kamala's new friend, Kamran, who is also descended from the clandestines. His mother turns out to be her, it'd be her Kamala's great grandmother's, what were they, sisters?
I'm thinking sisters or sisters-in-law. It was hard to tell you.
I don't remember. I don't remember if they said anything.
I thought there might have been some familial relationship.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure because they never really like they never really, I don't think they ever really specified if the clandestines are genetically related or if they just consider themselves a family because of who they are. So, but either way, Cameron's mother knew Kamala's great grandmother and was the one that killed her.
Mm-hmm.
Not that Kamala knows that. We know that as an audience. Kamala doesn't know that. And unfortunately, the two people that do know that are both dead. So, and then we get Kareem, who is a member of the Red Daggers. So, which they will definitely come back. We have not seen the last of the Red Daggers, so
nope.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this was not necessarily a big like world ending type thing. It really was the story of just this 16-year-old girl trying to figure out life and boys and friendships and all of that crazy stuff. And then she suddenly ends up with these powers that she thinks are really, really cool because she's obsessed with the Avengers, specifically Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, who is like her absolute hero. And figuring out what it means now that she has these powers, because it is a life-changing thing. No matter who you are, no matter what your life circumstances. So yeah, it's just, I think it was really cool. Do you guys have any like, what did you think of like the whole clandestine thing and how it ended up not being as big a deal as they kind of let it to be?
I was, in a way, I was kind of glad, but then a little bit disappointed. But then I was thinking too, how much did the clandestines tie into the Eternals, or are they going to have a tie into the Eternals just with some of the stuff? I mean, for crying out loud, the bracelet was found in a 10 Rings bunker, so who knows
on the arm of a Kree.
Right, yeah. So I mean, I can see where they're trying to pick and choose, and it's just like there's a whole lot of overlap here, so we need to make some explanations here.
Yeah.
Because you could go like 3 to 4 different ways. Can we pick one?
Yep.
Or is it still to be determined?
It might be to be determined. So, because the clandestines as they have been in the comics are not they're a little older, but I mean the grand scheme of characters, they're not that old. They were created in 94.
Okay.
So they're not super long running as far as characters go. They do cross over a little bit with the X-Men, which is appropriate. So we could potentially go that way, maybe, potentially. But the fact that they're from another dimension, which probably is more than likely a different dimension than the one that Shang-Chi's mother came from.
Right.
So, yeah, we're still getting multi-dimensional stuff going on, which I think is always, I think that's just going to continue to pop up from here on out. Now that is a thing,
right?
I think they're not going to plug that hole now that they've got it. So, but they don't all necessarily have to be big,
right?
Crazy, convergence or whatever type things would happen with Doctor Strange. It could be more like with Shang-Chi, where it's like, oh yeah, we're just in this other dimension. Yeah,
right.
So yeah, it's another one of those we're just gonna have to wait and see what they decide to do with those. But yeah, the fact that there's connections to both the 10 Rings and the Kree, I think is setting us up for something probably maybe down the line. But as we know with Marvel, stuff doesn't get paid off right away.
Can we get Ward, May, or Fitzsimmons on the phone?
I mean, it took us 4 years to get from I am Iron Man, my name is Nick Fury, and I'm here talking about the Avengers Initiative to the Battle of New York. So
right,
it could take some time. So, but yeah. So, but yeah, the fact that the clandestine in the comics have at least a little bit of the connection to the X-Men, maybe considering that they decided that now would be a really, really good time for Marvel, the MCU, to start using the word mutant.
Right?
Yeah. Is she gonna say the word?
I didn't know what Bruno was gonna say. I'm like, he's obviously leading up to something. It's like, what is he gonna say? Is he gonna just be like, your DNA doesn't match the rest of your family, or it's kind of like with Peter Quill at the end of the first Guardians of the Galaxy, was like, well, you're part human, the other part we don't know what it is. They could have just left it with that. It's like, well, we don't know exactly what it is, you're just not completely human. But no, they had to go and drop the M word.
Yes.
As far as I know, the very first time that the word mutant has been used officially in the MCU.
Yeah, I think so. All the other times have been like Inhuman. So
right. Yeah. We've had Eternals, we've had Inhumans, we've had no label whatsoever.
What was just, it, like 86 or something for
like
in Shield?
Yeah, with like Wanda, they couldn't use the word mutant yet when Wanda and Pietro got introduced, But for them to retroactively call her and Quicksilver mutants, I don't think would work necessarily, because their powers really came from the Infinity Stone.
Right.
That was inside Loki's scepter, which we know now as the Mind Stone. Which is why Wanda was the only person that could have destroyed the Mind Stone while it was inside Vision's head, because that's where her power comes from. So she's more along the same lines as Captain Marvel, where her power comes from an Infinity Stone. Whether you want to call that a mutation, as you could we're talking about made up science here, so
right,
you could really say whatever you want, but obviously they didn't go through Genesis either, so they're not Inhumans. So, but yeah, Kamala is the first officially labeled mutant inside the MCU. Now, granted, we have mutants, or at least a mutant, who was not born inside the MCU, but is now part of it, and we know is coming. His name is Deadpool.
Yep.
Correct.
Who he is a mutant, because that's how they explained it in the first Deadpool movie, is if you've got the whatever, because I don't think they've bothered to call it like the X gene or whatever. It's like, if you've got this mutation in your DNA, we can activate it, and there you go, which is kind of what happened to Kamala. She had, in theory, the mutant gene or mutant DNA, and the bangle just helped kickstart
Amplify
it. Just
it.
like Wade going into the pressure chamber is what kickstarted his. So you can, I'm sure there's gonna be some purists that are be like, well, there's who's actually first. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, because we're getting mutants, dagnabbit, which we knew were coming, because we know Deadpool is coming.
Pretty much our mileage is going to vary with this until we get a straight roadmap.
Right. It's just a matter of who else are we going to start seeing who are actually mutants. Are we going to go, are we going to keep reviving the same dead horse with the X-Men? I would prefer not.
I was gonna say, as much as I've liked the X-Men, I kind of want to see some new blood.
Yeah.
Yep. So speaking of X-Men, did you guys hear the little X-Men theme, like that when I poked up, like, ooh, I really like that.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean, there are so many mutants that we have not seen yet. That could be really, really cool. So, but yeah, I'm the same way as, like, especially because we're of that age that we had like the 90s X-Men cartoons. So in our mind, mutants equal Cyclops and Professor X and Storm and Rogue and Wolverine and all these, that we expect.
Jubilee, Gambit.
Exactly. But there's so many that have not been seen yet. So at least, even in the Fox, this stuff, like the mutants we've seen with Deadpool, like Colossus or Domino. It's like we've had a few, but yeah, there's still a whole lot that I probably don't even know that they're a thing,
Same, honestly.
So
Mhm.
it's like I know some of them from playing the Marvel mobile game on my phone.
Yeah, right. Like the
So, but yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they decide to bring in and give us first as far as quote unquote X-Men. So because obviously Fantastic Four, they're their own thing. They're not mutants either. Their circumstances completely different on how they get their powers.
Mm-hmm.
So, and do we get Charles Xavier? We know Charles Xavier exists elsewhere in the MCU.
Right.
In one of these universes.
In a different universe.
Mm-hmm.
But do we have a Charles Xavier in our little section of the MCU? So wait and see. But yeah, like Bruno is like mutation, and I'm like, oh, we're going there. Okay. I see. This is a thing. We're doing the thing. He said the thing. Okay then. I don't know how to process this, but I'm excited. So, and then they give us that, and then they give us the mid-credit scene where Kamala is supposed to be doing her homework, and the Bengal accidentally activates, and she and Carol switch spaces. So we get a nice little cameo from Brie Larson, who's very confused about where she is now and why there are posters of her face staring right back at her from every square inch of this room. Her parents are going to hear that bang and be like, Kamala, what are you doing? You're supposed to be doing your homework. And Kamala's not there. There's a tall blonde woman who matches the posters in her daughter's bedroom.
Yeah.
Which is going to be very confusing considering we know that her father has no idea who Carol Danvers is. When he was explaining the origin of her name. And she's like, I can't have the same name as Carol freaking Danvers. And he's like, who? Like, well, she's in your kid's bedroom now, so you probably better figure it out.
Right? I saw on the internet a lot of people were confused. There were people who like thinking that maybe somehow Kamala was turned into Captain Marvel. Like, but then like someone's like, yeah, no, that's not what happened. It's kind of funny.
No. I mean, I guess in the comics that could have happened or has happened, where she can like change her appearance and has taken on the look of Carol, which I guess is not quite the same thing as becoming that person. But the Bangles in the comics have the ability to teleport someone from one location to another. So and because the Bangles are a pair, if one person is wearing one and another person's wearing the other, those two specifically could swap places. So, and as we've learned, the Bangle, kind of like the TARDIS, kind of has a mind of its own.
Yeah.
As far as what it wants to do. So, in theory, it is sending Kamala someplace she needs to be. Kind of like how it sent her back in time because she needed to be the one to save her great-grandmother, or grandmother, who gets separated from her great-grandmother at the train station. So, okay, fess up. How many, when they started talking about the partition, that were like, I know about that from Doctor Who.
Yep. Thank you, Doctor Who, for the history lesson.
Yes, like
Yeah.
Doctor Who. It started out wanting to be an educational show for children and teach them about history. Almost 60 years later, it worked.
Yeah. Yep.
You did your job, Doctor Who. Even if you didn't know it. Because they don't teach us diddly squat about other people's history, let alone our own in this country. So yeah, I thought that was fun though, because I'm like, oh, partition, I know about this. But yeah, it's in general probably not the. I mean, it's hard to compare. I don't want to say this is like not the strongest series we've gotten in the MCU as far as Disney Plus is concerned, because you're not really comparing apples to apples.
Yeah.
Because it's got its own texture, it's got its own flavor, it's got its own look. But it still feels very Marvel and still feels like it fits into the bigger MCU. And other than that whole mutant thing, it wasn't necessarily like universe shattering like some of the other stuff has. Like obviously with WandaVision, that was setting us up for Doctor Strange the Multiverse of Madness, something we knew that at the time. Loki obviously setting up Kang and all of that stuff that we're going to see Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So yeah, some of it has kind of been like big ripples in the bigger MCU. This not so much, other than because we knew mutants were coming eventually. We knew that word was going to have to get dropped and used at some point. So it's not like it's, oh my god, mutants are coming. It's more like, oh my goodness, we're finally here.
Yeah.
Yay, the ink is finally dry on that on the purchase with Fox, so we can use that word now. It's legal now.
Right.
And I have no idea what like the plot or anything for the Marvels is going to be. Whether it's going to be something that's again kind of self-contained, not a big universe shattering thing like it was for the first Captain Marvel movie, where really her biggest enemy was nobody.
Right.
Jude Law really didn't pose that big a threat. So once she came full into her own with her powers, really, nobody was going to stop her, because Captain Marvel is one of the most powerful characters we have. I don't know exactly what's going to happen as far as the Marvels is concerned. What or what did they come up with that's going to explain why obviously having Carol and Monica Rambeau together makes sense, having her best friend's kid now grown up be with her, especially now that Monica's got her own powers thanks to Wanda. And eventually we'll find out which name they're going to use for her. And then the 16-year-old girl that just came into her powers and is still trying to figure this thing out. It's like, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. So, and maybe we'll find out. Maybe we'll get some information this weekend at Fandom Christmas, or maybe we'll have to wait till D23 Expo, Disney Fandom Christmas. Considering we're supposed to get the Marvels next year, I would imagine we're gonna find out something eventually, more than likely at one of these events. If I had to hazard a guess, I'd probably say D23 Expo.
Same.
Just because of the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Although the movie releases, again, this is why we write things in pencil, kids.
Yeah.
Because it's like Marvels and then Ant-Man and then Ant-Man 3, and then people are like, no, we're going to get Ant-Man 3, and then we're going to have the Marvels. It's like, whatever. Just, it doesn't matter what movie it is. Is it an MCU movie? Yes, I will be there.
Mm-hmm.
Please and thank you. So
yes.
I even went to the movie theater to see Morbius. So yeah, it doesn't take much. Any other thoughts on Kamala Khan and Miss Marvel, aka
good
Captain Marvel?
Great use,
Junior.
Great use of music.
Oh yes.
If
I can, I will.
Some good Jersey references, even though one of our friends of the show was sadly disappointed that a certain boss did not get completely mentioned. But the prince did.
He did accidentally.
Yes.
Because Kamala's grandmother got the boss and Bon Jovi confused. So
yes.
That was funny. I'm like, somewhere Jesse's ears are perking up, going, "Wait, what?"
Well, yeah.
I mentioned the boss.
I'm thinking
the
Grandma must be the Springsteen fan, and
yeah.
And Muniba is the Bon Jovi fan.
Yes. Not to be confused with Brown Jovi.
No.
Pakistani tribute band.
Yes.
Oh my god.
I really am enjoying. I really did enjoy the music. If I can, it should let me. I will put in the show notes my ultimate MCU playlist on Spotify.
Oh, nice.
Which I know I've shared in one of the chats somewhere. But
sure again.
Yeah. I started with Awesome Mix Volumes 1 and 2 from Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously.
But of course.
And then built from there. So essentially, it's not perfect. I know there's stuff missing because I couldn't find it on Spotify. But it is essentially almost every piece of popular music used in the MCU. So not the like score that we recognize from different MCU films, but like obviously with Iron Man we heard, like AC/DC, and with Thor, obviously especially Thor Love and Thunder, we're getting a lot of Guns N' Roses all over the place. So it's stuff like that. And I've even gone into the TV shows, the Disney Plus and Netflix, which some of the Netflix, it's not necessarily mainstream pop music, but there is music written like mainstream pop music that was written for the shows, like I Want Your Cray Cray, Trisha's song from Jessica Jones. And then I've even pulled from Deadpool, because I consider him part of the MCU at this point, even though he's not making an appearance. So like they used 9 to 5 in Deadpool too. So like that's on there. Yep. So so it's my ultimate awesome mix of most of the mainstream popular music that's been used within the MCU, and that includes a lot of the music used, which is a lot of Indian and Bollywood type music used in Miss Marvel. And there's I kind of wish Chrissy was here. It's a shame she doesn't have internet yet at her new house, because Chrissy is our Bollywood expert, and she would probably be able to tell us if she's recognized any of the music from any of the Bollywood movies that she's seen. But there's some very fun, very cool sounding songs. So it is kind of fun to hear, to have the playlist on shuffle and hear, like, AC/DC. It's like, oh yeah, I heard this in Iron Man, to Dolly Parton going 9 to 5 to some song that's obviously from some Bollywood big song and dance number.
Right.
So, it's quite fun. I
was at like I don't know exactly what they're saying, but the music, I like the music. I kind of know.
I have no idea what they're saying, but it's like, I don't care. I enjoy it. It sounds it's really fun. So if you ever heard Indian disco, you will if you listen to this playlist. So,
and it's so cool that they are using that music, so we are exposed to that culture and are learning to appreciate it. It's just like, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I was like, between this and like with
Moonlight,
yeah, like I was like, I've always had like a taste for like different types of music, different genres, different nationality types. So like learning, like hearing these, like, ooh, like I have no idea, like I said, I don't know what they're saying, but like the way it sounds and the culture of it is like really fascinates me.
And as our resident East Coaster, how well was Jersey represented there, Brittany?
Yes. How was it represented, Brittany?
Problem is, I've never been to Jersey City. But I do have friends that who have lived, and they said it was pretty accurate. So
okay.
Oh, good.
I'll trust them.
Yay. Good to know. It's the second time the MCU has ended up in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's been a few times, because like technically.
Yes. That is true. All right. Anything else?
Not that I can think
This is a very, very small detail, but I really loved how they did the texting. Like the text between like
Kamala with like all the emojis and everything. So yeah. It's definitely has, like, I think I read somewhere that that stuff like that was at least a little bit influenced from things like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And I totally see that. So especially considering both Chris Evans and Brie Larson are in Scott Pilgrim.
That's right.
Which I think is funny. But yeah, that was, I definitely like the some of the visuals, to help get the, because again, it all goes back to the fact that Kamala is 16, and these are also, they're high schoolers, and that is the way that they communicate.
Yes.
Via text message and emoji and all these things. So I thought it was very cool the way they did that. It made it very visually interesting too.
So. I like when like TV or movie can do that. Like, so it's not just staring at the phone, and they try to make it pop. I don't know. I
yeah,
like
where
when
they
do
just show
that.
like the screen
Yeah.
and they show like the text
Yeah.
of the text, and it's like it's dull. Yeah. I agree. Well, if any of our listeners want to give their 2 cents on Kamala Khan and her live action introduction into the MCU, or about her friends or any of that fun stuff, you can contact us, send us your feedback. You can do that a number of ways. You can email us, 5ishfangirls@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, which is the 5ishfangirls.com, where you can connect with all of our other different social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, where you can DM us or leave comments or all those fun things, YouTube, whatever floats your boat. Yeah, whether you want to send us a long drawn out, a long message, or just a bunch of emojis, that's cool. We'll take it. We're hip like that. I say that and it makes me sound not so hip, I think.
Right?
I'm old.
With contacts, clues.
Slide into our DMs. No. Oh my god. If you want when you stop rolling your eyes and like to financially support us, you can do so via one-time donation via Ko-fi, or you can become a regular supporter on Patreon. Links to both of those are also on our website. Or if you like to get something a bit more tangible in return for supporting us, you can buy merch, t-shirts, hats, buttons, stickers, all sorts of things with our logo, along with other designs on our shop on Redbubble. Again, link is on our website. Oh. And stay tuned to the social media feeds while Fandom Christmas occurs this weekend, starting tomorrow. Actually, as we're recording this, starting Thursday. It's gonna be exciting 4 days.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Jealous of the folks who are there, but at the same time, it's probably warm in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to be like standing outside for a panel in the heat.
Yeah, it's like I'm jealous, but also like whenever like I see like the pictures, I'm like, I'm glad I'm not in the middle of all those people. So
Yeah. Actually, right now, pretty tolerable in San Diego compared to here. It is 76 degrees.
Ooh,
that is
nice.
that's
supposed to
my
be
ideal
it's supposed to be in
temperature.
the low 70s all weekend in San Diego this weekend. So I take that back, please. I want to be in San Diego right now. It's like 20 degrees difference.
Those are actually my ideal temperatures, like this, like 70s are my like perfect temperature for me.
Yeah. Never mind. I changed my mind. I take it back. Please take me to San Diego.
Let's go to San Diego. Let's somehow find tickets, because totally not sold out by now.
Yeah, and it starts tomorrow. So, I'll leave right now.
Right?
One of these days. One of these days.
Quick, who needs to go for 4 days? We volunteer as tribute.
Yes.
Right?
We will gladly. I mean, it's a little late right now, but next year, I'm just saying. Just saying. I might be available. Just saying. Depending on the dates. Anyway. All right. Well, with that, I'm gonna go stick my head in the freezer and because it's cold, and sign off for this week.
This is Brittany Davidoff saying good night.
This is Sally from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Let's go out to the corner and pour one out for the Circle Q. R.I.P. Kamala's dad's hostess for price. Listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at the5ishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and any other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you wish to support the show, the easiest way is to leave us a rating and review. More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at patreon.com/5ishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to keep the show going. For official Five-ish Fangirls merchandise, visit redbubble.com/people/5ishfangirls. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/5ishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and may the squee be with you.